Hey everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thanks so much for being with us today. We're talking about healthy eating. You want to eat healthier, but maybe you need some help figuring out where to begin in that process. This episode is supported by KLEIN Dermatology and Associates. They are the pros at what they do. I'll tell you more about their great work in medical and cosmetic dermatology coming up. So yeah, healthy eating, gluten, dairy, soy. Maybe you've been told by a doctor that you can't eat one of those or all of those things because you have a food allergy now. We have a fantastic nutritional celebrity chef lined up to talk with us, the author of the best-selling book, Get Well Soon. She has clients worldwide who she helps with nutrition for healing. What a concept. Joining us live from Los Angeles tonight is Dr. Meg Haworth. Dr. Haworth, thanks so much for being on That Expert Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here tonight.
We have some questions to get to that have been submitted by viewers, so I will get to those in just a minute. But if you want to give us a little bit of background on, your work as a celebrity chef, I'm intrigued by that. I think we all sort of have these, fantasies of having a private chef come over and cook meals for your family. What was that process like? What did it entail? And how did you help people by going into their homes and cooking for them?
Yeah, well, it was kind of interesting how I ended up in celebrity kitchens. I got this opportunity to make some videos for food allergies because I've been a food allergy sufferer since 25 years ago, and so it was for Will Ferrell's Funny or Die. There was a chef website called Eat, Drink, or Die, and I was their food allergy chef, and that's how I got connected with some people in the business and started working in celebrity kitchens. And it's been really fascinating. It's been an amazing ride. But what I do is I go in and I will do a week's worth of food, like 5 days worth, and have things ready for people, either in individualized containers, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or also just large containers of, just quinoa, or, like a yummy quinoa dish or a yummy fish dish, or a big salad, and they can sort of mix and match. So
that's
did all
brilliant.
kinds of different, I basically did whatever it was the person needed,
Okay, so I guess I didn't have that concept that you would go in. So you had, multiple clients whose homes you would go to during the week, and you would cook up a whole batch of food for them. I mean, is this something that I think of celebrities, and I think of this as being something that is purely a luxury that only they could afford. But I mean, are there like private chefs that you think could be affordable as a treat? For example, a great Mother's Day gift? Wink, wink.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The thing about private chefing is that there's so many different ways to do it, and it should fit your lifestyle. So, and I know, like, you can get somebody right out of culinary school for maybe $15 an hour, and they come in at 1 day a week and they cook for 5-6 hours. That's not a whole lot of money when you think about it. And then you do that plus the groceries typically, and they have all different types of services available these days too. So there's lots of ways to get somebody to cook for you and very affordably.
Wow, I'm very curious about that. We had someone who is submitting a question via Twitter who is interested in eating healthy. Lloyd wants to know, he says he is pre-diabetic and needs to reduce his glucose levels. He went on the keto diet and the levels went to normal, but here's the rub. He loves his bread and his sweets. Who doesn't? He's wondering, what can he substitute for his lifelong carb addiction?
Yes, carbs, those are the hard ones to break. And I think it's really hard to tell somebody that you have to not ever have it at all. It's just moderation once in a while. And when you get your body used to that, you don't want it as much. When you get your body used to not having sugar, you don't want it as much. And I know for desserts, I mean, that's hard to give up, especially when you love sugar. I know It was hard for me because I had some sugar sensitivities myself. So, like a great dessert that's really simple and really delicious is, and it's a vegan pudding made with avocado, raw cacao powder. And you may think, oh my gosh, avocado, like that just sounds really gross, but it's so
You
good.
should
I've
have
had
seen the
people
look
try
on
it
my
and just,
face right now when
they're
you said
over
that.
the
Yes.
moon for it. Yeah. And then you just do some stevia to make to sweeten it. And then you do some like coconut milk or almond milk or rice milk, whatever kind of milk you want to use in there. And it's unbelievable how good it is. So that's like something simple you can make at home and have on hand, and put some berries in it. Berries are great because they load the sugar into the system very slowly. So that's a great thing for diabetics. And there's also a great desserts that you can find already prepackaged at like Whole Foods, or any of those Whole Foods kinds of stores, natural food stores. There's a great product called Hail Mary, and she makes like paleo kind of desserts. And they have some sugar in them, but they'll have like maple or honey, and both of those, they're in smaller amounts and they load into the system a lot more slowly. I think the trick is to not have something that has some kind of sugar in it every single day. You can have something like that pudding I recommended, or some sort of stevia sweetened dessert that you could have every day if you really wanted to.
That's interesting. I mean, when I think of sugar substitutes, monk fruit is one of those things that, I've seen people use. I've experimented with it a little bit myself. It has an interesting sweet taste if you're trying to find a good substitute for sugar, because I know that stevia isn't for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It has sort of uh, it reminds some people of like sucralose or one of those kinds of sugars, and some people don't really like the aftertaste that it gives off. So, but then again, like there's honey, there's coconut sugars, and syrup as well. And the reason like honey and syrup are actually kind of high in calories, but the reason that they're easier to for the body to deal with is because they have minerals in them, and that helps to load into the system more slowly versus sucrose from white table sugar, which just spikes the blood sugar levels. And that's the thing with carbs, if you're talking about bread, that just spikes the blood sugar levels really high, really fast. Some people have a lot of luck with Ezekiel bread. That's easy to find. You can find it in pretty much any grocery store now. And they don't have as much trouble with blood sugar spikes with that. It's so good. It's sprouted grains. So that's one thing you can use. So yeah, things are breads that are made with like coconut flour or almond flour, desserts made with those things as well. They don't spike the blood sugars as much as wheat flour or even rice flour, and like the gluten-free stuff. A lot of it's really high in sugar, unfortunately.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you have specialized in, is if people are suspicious that they have an allergy to gluten, which, signs of celiac disease are basically anytime you have, a carb or some kind of wheat-based product, you bloat, you get indigestion, there's all sorts of issues that arise from it. What has been your advice when you have worked with clients, that have literally called you up and said, okay, the doctor says I just can't eat gluten anymore?
Yeah, the first thing I'll do is I'll go in and look at what they are eating. I'll look at their cabinets, and we'll go through and look for all of the hidden gluten, because there is a lot of hidden gluten in all kinds of things. Anything that says modified food starch in it, for instance, is hidden gluten. And they're just using that starch, which is basically gluten, to thicken and stabilize the food, whether it be a salad dressing or a soup. So we look at those things for the things on labels. And then we just start really thinking about like, what are the whole foods? What are the ways that we can get foods that are from the produce section, for instance? I used to teach at Whole Foods Market, and I would tell, and it was the teaching area was in the middle of the produce section, and I would have everybody turn around and look at the whole section. It's a giant section. I'd say everything you look at right there is gluten-free and dairy-free. And there's thousands of combinations of things that you can make. You just have to learn how to do it. And it's really not that hard when you start to learn how to do it.
That's inspiring and good to hear. Hey, I just want to take a moment to thank KLEIN Dermatology and Associates for supporting this episode of That Expert Show. What is so awesome is that Dr. Marla Klein actually personally trains every member of her staff. And you can tell because when you go in, these folks are consummate professionals. I love that you can go in with confidence that you are actually in the care of a board certified dermatologist. You know, maybe you're like me and you're mostly happy with how you look, but you would love to just get a little jump start towards some fitness goals. I know for a lot of us moms, the struggle is real to drop the baby weight and firm up the tummy. So, you know, one of the options they offer is Cool Sculpting. It's at KLEIN Dermatology. It's the only FDA cleared procedure that basically targets fat. It actually freezes fat cells. Sounds crazy, but no surgery is involved. It's just a few hours out of your life, and the results actually last. KLEIN Dermatology also offers a whole range of skin and body treatments like Botox and Sculptra and Juvederm. They offer both medical and cosmetic dermatology services. So to learn more, just Google KLEIN Dermatology, KLEIN, and you can get on your way to looking and feeling better. So that's all kind of in the line here with looking and feeling better. I know some of the clients that you've worked with have come to you and said, okay, I'm also now allergic to soy, or dairy is a tough one because when you really start to look at the stuff that we eat, dairy like sneaks into everything.
Yeah, dairy is in a lot of things, especially if you go out to restaurants, because a lot of things are cooked in butter. A lot of sauces have butter in them. If you're really allergic to it, like I am, you have to really be careful about how you're getting that into your diet.
And so, I mean, I guess with dairy, the upside of that is that there seem to be a lot of dairy substitutes. Like with milk itself, there's Lactaid and you know, what are some of the other choices that people could make to sub in if they've discovered that they've had a dairy allergy? Or some nutritionists actually say just cut dairy out of your diet altogether as an adult, right?
Yeah, for so many of us. I like one of my friends is Dr. David Friedman, and he wrote a book called Food Sanity, and he says dairy is public enemy number one, and he's done all the research on this. It's so hard for the body to digest, for one thing. There's hormones and pesticides in dairy products. Unfortunately, they often find pus in the milk that is making people sick. The naturally occurring hormones of dairy products, of cow milk, for instance, is made to fatten up a baby steer. It's not really made for human consumption. But boy, does it taste good. When you add cheese or cream to something, it makes it so much better taste-wise. But in terms of that's my pesto right there is dairy-free. You can make all kinds of sauces and things with cashews, for instance. Cashew cream. It's just really delicious. And in some cases, you just feel like you're not missing dairy products at all. I mean, I know I don't feel like I do. Now, you brought up something about lactose and Lactaid and that kind of milk, but lactose is a different issue than a dairy allergy. Lactose is the inability to break down, lactose intolerance is the inability to break down lactase, which is the sugar found in the milk. You just don't have the enzymes to break it down. But dairy allergies are usually caused by being allergic to casein, which is the protein in dairy products. And they found all kinds of studies that have found effects of casein on the brain that are kind of similar to what happens to gluten and how it affects the brain, or how it can affect the brain in an opiate sort of way. There's so many studies that link emotion and dairy and gluten, for instance, by what they've discovered, how it acts upon the brain.
That is so interesting. And you hear a lot today about like the gut-brain connection as well. I mean, you've told us about a lot of things that, you might consider cutting out of your diet to feel better. What are the things that you might add into your diet to feel better? Like, are there certain foods that you should be eating before your main meal to sort of like prep your stomach for the meal? Or are there particular foods that have enzymes that can help you break down your food in a more efficient way so that your body is getting more of what it actually needs?
Yes, enzymes are very important, and a lot of like papaya is really high in enzymes that help the body to digest. And you can also just get enzymes in a pill form, basically, that really help you break down the protein. They help you break down the starch. They help you break down the sugars and the things that are more difficult for you to digest and assimilate into nutrition in the body. So those are very important to have in the food that you're eating. So yeah, there's just so many different things that you can do. And so, as you were saying, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
As you were saying, that there's the more you can go with fresh foods. I mean, just looking at all these wonderful dishes in front of you are all things that I've made, and the way you can put flavors together, learn how to spice things. That's like chimichurri with eggs and avocado and tomatoes. It's an amazing breakfast. So like this is an example right here of some food that we have 5 different things. They're ready for the week, and then you mix and match and create the dish that you want. This is a gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free chocolate cake. It's something that I've had one of my celebrity clients flew one of these down to Florida for her sister, because she had to have, no gluten, no dairy, no soy. And she just was so happy that she could have a cake that tasted that amazing. And so that's the thing I'm dedicated to, is making things taste amazing. I don't want them just to taste okay. I don't want them to taste like maybe a good copy. I want them to taste like better than the original. And a lot of that just has to do with learning how to work with flavors. And there's a lot of recipes on my website, for instance, where you can see on the blog some recipes that help you do that.
Great.
So with spice, you just always need a little more than you think you need.
We'll definitely include links to your materials, your website, your blog, and whatnot in the tip sheet after our episode. We always create one that summarizes the key points and includes the links to where people can find more information about you and the stuff that you're talking about. We had a question come in on Facebook, and it's from Melissa, and it's a budget question. She's saying, how do I eat healthier on a limited budget when, for example, top ramen is a basic staple of what she eats?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think so many people just think that they can't eat this way. One is you don't know how, and you don't know how to get food more cheaply. The thing is that when you're getting the high amount of nutrition in your diet, you don't feel as hungry. You feel satisfied because your body's getting what it needs. And so one of the places that I like to, especially for single people, is to go to Trader Joe's. They have so many great products there that don't have additives and extra preservatives and things like that in them, that you can get pretty inexpensively. And even in the fresh produce area, there's bags of spinach and kale, and you could take something like pesto and mix it with kale, and then make some quinoa and put that on top of the quinoa. So if you start thinking of all these ways that you can sort of make everything taste better and still get a lot of vegetable in there, you'll love that. And I know that there were times where I had a really lean budget, and I would spend like $80 a week, maybe 100 tops, to get food from Trader Joe's, and it was all gluten-free, dairy-free, and it was all whole foods. And it's just, again, it's just learning how to make it and learning how to do it. Top ramen, unfortunately, is like something that's going to deplete your body of nutrients over time. It's really hard on the digestive system, and it's not good nutrition. So if you think about long-term effects and getting sick over the long term because you're eating like that, it's not worth it. It's so much more worth it to pay a little more now than to have to pay for a chronic illness later. Because I got to tell you, I've lost my health to the point where I couldn't get out of bed, and there's nothing in the world that is worth that. So if you think of it that way, it's really a mindset change, and then you'll find the money. It just happens. That's how I had to do it in order to get well and stay well. And I know you can do it too.
Yeah. That's great advice. Folks who are chiming in on Facebook are saying that, whole food, plant-based is the answer, is what Inez is saying. And back to that carb question, Amber's saying she's trying to do a low-carb diet, but she loves bread. Do you have any other alternatives or advice for Amber and the rest of us who love bread and pasta and cookies and all things carb?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that you have to cut those things out of your diet altogether. You'll be surprised at how much weight you'll lose and how much better you're going to feel if you just eat real whole foods. And I mean, you could do something as simple as taking some chickpeas and putting spices in them. Like you just put some curry and some sea salt, and you make these curried chickpeas and you pour that over some salad, and then you put some avocado on that, and you'll be amazed at how good you feel after you eat it and how full you feel as well. So there's so many different things that you can do. And chickpeas, I mean, they have some carbohydrates in them. You can also find all kinds of things made with coconut flour or almond flour that don't spike the blood sugars all that much at all. That can also be really great and helpful. And again, you'd want to go to like a Whole Foods market, or the best way to really do it is to learn how to do it. I mean, there's so many places online that are paleo. Look up paleo diets, look up keto diets, and there's a lot of stuff on that's maybe 3 or 4 ingredients, very simple to make. You can make at home and have it there ready for you. And then you'll find that you don't miss those carbs like you thought you were going to. And when you do eat a carb, eat a whole grain, like eat brown rice, eat quinoa, which actually is a seed and not a grain. So potatoes, sweet potatoes, I mean, you'll just feel so satisfied.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot because I've been having this conversation for the last few months. We've all been home, binge watching at night. Binge watching comes with binge eating for me. And so what are your favorite, lying on the couch, sitting on the couch, watching TV type snacks that you're not going to feel extremely guilty about the next day?
Yeah, well, one thing I like to do is just like chop up some carrots and have carrots and hummus. It's delicious. Carrots and pesto, celery and pesto. Mary's Gone crackers. There's these great gluten-free crackers that are really high in, like, I like the super seed ones, and just have those and dip those into some roasted red pepper sauce. That it's very simple to make and it's so delicious. It's just roasted red pepper and shallots and garlic, and put that in the blender with some cashews or Marcona almonds, and it's just amazing. And you just won't feel like you've done something awful the next day. You won't feel bad in the moment because you don't feel like this lump in your stomach, and you don't feel bad the next day, So
I get it.
Yeah, so it's really, I often just say, think of nutrition and not, just think of there's so many good things to eat.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but before we let you go, I have to ask, why you had a pretty successful career as a nutritional celebrity chef. Why did that part of your life scale down and other parts of your career begin to scale up? You had a pretty life-changing experience from what I understand.
I did. 6 years ago, I was struck by lightning on Venice Beach, California, and it was an intense experience that put me on disability, and I had to scale back. I've never been able to find the energy levels that I had before, as it damaged a disc in my lower back and nerves and muscles in my legs and 3 areas of my brain. And so coming back from that has been a very long, slow go, but I've still, been able to do, one or two clients a week. But I have a doctorate in transpersonal psychology, so I'm focusing more on doing therapy with people.
What
So,
a story.
but I'm also counseling people on nutrition, and what to eat when you've got that list of food allergies that I help people figure that out.
Yeah. Wow. What an incredible story you have to tell. I do have one last question that's coming in from a viewer. This is from David, who wants to know what you know about rambutan. Rambutan? Is that a fruit, right? I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly.
Rambutan. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I was just in Cambodia a year ago today, eating it probably in the market. Yeah, it's a delicious fruit. And it's a Southeast Asian fruit that you can get at Asian grocery stores. And honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head, like what the nutritional value is of it. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So, and there's so many great fruits that taste so good. And, I think that's the thing too, is when your palate adjusts to a new way of eating, you don't want the stuff that you had before. You don't crave donuts or cookies or the whole thing shifts and you feel better all over too. And then you see the consequences that one cookie has on you and you're just, I don't want to do that.
Interesting. How long does it take for that new palate to set in? Is it 2 weeks? A month?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I say to try something at least 21 days, but a much better sample is 3 months. 90 days of trying a new diet is really good because it takes 90 days for a total tissue change in your body. So for you to adapt to this new way of eating.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. 21 days at the least, 90 days ideally. Thank you so much, Dr. Haworth, for joining us and for your insight into healthier eating.
You're so welcome.
There you have it. I hope some of that was helpful to you. I would love to try some of the things that she talked about. We will be putting all of this information together as a tip sheet right after the show. We'll post it on thatexpertshow.com. We'll also put it out in various places. The show itself will be replayed on YouTube, and it goes back out as a podcast as well. So wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, look for That Expert Show. I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look for Anna Canzano. I want your ideas on the topics and the guests that you want to hear from, that you want to learn about. We're all in this together. The whole purpose of the show is try to live healthier and smarter and happier. And I try to find the best experts to help us do that. So thanks for being here. We're at a new time. Maybe you've noticed we're on Monday evening now at 7 p.m. every week. And it is That Expert Show where you help run the show.